Even Kat did a better job.
Hang on, I don't know what you're yelling at.
No, I'm joking. I'm fucking with you.
Is she talking to us?
Oh,
No,
I'm
because I don't have
so
a
sorry.
beauty
I didn't know I was not
I was like,
muted.
what?
Sorry,
I'm
guys.
like, beauty,
like,
what? I
okay,
don't wear
girl.
makeup. She made me want to wear makeup because she said something about beauty, and I'm not trying to get cussed at. So I was going to go put on some
I'm
makeup.
so sorry, guys.
It is
And me
okay.
want to go put on some too.
Right?
That was
Like,
hilarious.
no, I'm not in any position to fight right
Earlier, I kind of did that at the beginning of the session. I was like talking to myself, and then I was not on mute, and I was like, I wonder if anyone heard me.
I did that in my summer class.
They're probably like, who are you talking to?
My friend made a meme that was like, you know how Loki was like, I've been falling for 30 minutes, but he's like, I've been talking for 30
Did
minutes,
y'all-
and he's been on mute.
Or no.
I didn't hear what you said.
Did y'all get his message? I think
I
he, like,
just
sent a
got it.
message in,
He's
Please
in
say
here.
for anyone
He's in here.
that
Yeah,
dies. Oh, that dies.
He's been laughing at us for like 2
He's
minutes.
not- no, you can download the
I
Canvas
guarantee
app.
he's listened to every
Oh,
big
you can
conversation.
download Canvas on your app?
Yeah, go to your if you have iPhone, obviously you go to your app store. If you have an Android, you go to Google Play,
Yes.
you download it, and then it'll ask you what
Game
college
changer.
it'll ask you what college you go to. Don't put Northwest Vista because it's not an option. You have to put Alamo colleges.
Oh, okay. Okay.
None of y'all didn't know that? Oh my gosh.
Canvas student. Game changer.
Yeah,
It
it'll
is a
give you
life
notifications.
changer.
It'll give you notifications of like when professors in your classes post anything like announcements, post
I'm
new
such a newbie. This is incredible.
If also if you have a
modules, post
tablet,
tests, quizzes.
if you have a tablet, it works in the same way for an iPhone.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's a free app and everything. It's a game changer for me. So
Hmm. Yes, girl. That is incredible.
I took the EDUC course in the summer, and that she was like, you can download it. And I was like, gonna do that.
That's
now. Really,
incredible.
the ECU 1300?
Yeah.
There we go. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I was on mute.
I was watching
Don't
you
judge
laugh.
us.
All right. So yeah, I had some technical difficulties. I think they changed like my password like in the middle of teaching because when I tried to log back in, it wouldn't let me log in and it made me change my password like 7 times.
Oh no.
I think that's why it crapped out, why Zoom crapped out on us. So, but it should be resolved now. I don't know why they would just randomly decide to make me change my password in the middle of a Zoom session. But I'm pretty sure that's what caused everything to lock up. We did lose the Zoom recording for the first half of class, but we'll set up the second half of class, I guess. So let's see, where were we? Ratios. All right. So if you make 21,500 in 6 months, and you want to know how much you'll make in a year, you just set it up in this proportion. To solve for the x, we got to get rid of these 12 months. So that's why we're multiplying both sides by 12 months. You want to have the months in there because you want them to cancel out appropriately. Like over here, the months cancel out. So we have x equal to 12 times 21,500 over 6. So 12 over 6 is 2. And 21,500 times 2 is 43,000. Notice we end up with dollars here. All right, that's why you always want to write your units and use them to guide you. If you end up with like pesos, you know you did something wrong.
Pesos. I got that one late.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The problems before, you've always said to just multiply across the top.
Yeah, that's what we did over here. We multiplied both sides by 12 months.
Okay, so explain the x equals 12 times the fraction. Can you explain that one more time?
This one,
No, the where you wrote out.
this part.
Yes.
Okay, so on the right-hand side here, 12 months over 12 months is just the number.
Cancels out.
Yeah, that's why they cancel. So, and then you're just left with the X. Over here on this side, the units of months and the units of months go away. You're still left with your 12 over 6 though.
Okay.
You just canceled out the unit of months. So we're left with the X equals 12 over 6 times 21.5, which is what we have here.
Okay.
Good. That's what they're doing here. They just wrote it all out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they multiplied both sides by the 12 months. Canceled. And got the same answer.
Thank you.
Sure. So let's look at this one. So if you make 9,800 in 3 months, how much do you make in a year? So we set up our proportion. 9,800 per 3 months. This is equal to how much in a year? A year is 12 months, right?
Mhm.
So we have to settle on our units, you know, one says months, the other says years. So we have to make sure we're using the same units, right? Some people, instead of putting 12 months, might put 1 year there, or they might just put 1, right? Here's something that people will do wrong. They'll do that because they see how much in 1 year. Well, first thing is, the first problem with this is they're not writing the units. This is what they really mean. So that's technically correct, but you can't really do much with it because you have months over here. So that's why you want to put the same units on both sides.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the way that I would have normally solved this was obviously 3 months would be quarterly. So like multiply that by 4, and then I would multiply 9,800 by 4.
Yes.
So if we were to do it that way, would we get it wrong because we're not doing it in a fraction?
Well, if it depends on what the instructions say. If the instructions say use proportions to solve this problem, yeah, then you wouldn't get full credit. But if it just said, you know, solve, you know, if they just said this without saying use proportions, well then yeah, you get full credit, right? As long as you show
Okay.
it work. But you'll see if you set it up like this, because you want to be able to do it like this because problems get harder where you can't just do it in your head like that, you see? But this method, you'll see that it turns into exactly what you're saying. You just multiply 9,800 by 4, right? So if you multiply both sides by 12 months, that goes away. Months go away. And what do we have here? We have X equals 12 over 3 times 9,800. And what is 12 over 3? It's 4, just like you said.
And I would have done this like a whole different way, like in my head.
Yeah, most people would look at that and do it in their head. They'd be like, okay, 9,800 in 3 months. That's a quarter of the year, right?
I would have done 3 divided by 9,800 times 12.
Yeah, that was the other way I would have done it. I feel like putting it into fractions just makes it more complicated for me.
Yeah.
You figured out how much you made in 1 month and then multiplied that by 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. But all 3 ways, you're going to end up with 39,200. plus people usually want to know what they make monthly, right? So if you do it your way, where you figure out how much you make in a month and then a year, well, then you not only know what you make a year, you also know what you make monthly too. Okay. So they showed us these proportions in order to do percents. I don't typically use proportions to do the percents, but we'll look at it. So would you rather use a coupon where 20 bucks off your entire purchase or 20% off your entire purchase?
Wouldn't it matter
Depends how
what
much I'm
the overall cost was?
Yeah, it
'Cause
depends how, yeah.
Right?
Depends on the total.
So, but at what amount would you change your choice from $20 to 20%?
If I'm spending like $200, I'm gonna want like 20% off of it. But if I'm gonna spend like $23, I want the $20 off.
Exactly. But what if you're spending $110? Which one would you choose?
the 20%, because if it was
20%.
$100 even, then they would equal the same. So anything above 100 would be your percentage.
Exactly. So
It's
how do
like-
we figure out? They made it easy. They made 20 and 20, right? So how do you figure out how much is your cutoff point?
You would figure out
Uh-huh.
$20 off, and where $20 and 20% are equivalent.
Right. So how would we set that up? Let's say we have a X is the amount of the purchase, right? And we take 20% of that, right? And we get $20. We want to know when 20% of our purchase is $20. So you understand why we wrote that way?
Yep.
Here's your amount. We're taking 20% of that and setting it equal to 20. So now we solve for our amount. So to get to the X here, we need to divide both sides by a 0.2. So if that goes away, 20 divided by 0.20 is $100.
Our question, couldn't you just have made that easier? Because percentage is always over 100. So 20% over 100 and then convert it to dollars because it's over 100.
Sure. Yeah, you can do it that way. Most of these problems, there's going to be lots of different ways that you can approach it. You can set up the problems 3 or 4 different ways. They should all end up with the same result. So whichever way you do it, I recommend you do it several different ways and make sure you get the same answer.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is, are you one of those teachers that if you don't do it the way that you expected them to do it, they're not going to get credit for, or as long as we get the answer, is that good?
Well, as long as you show your work, mainly. If you show me
Okay.
your train of thought, you're going to be all right.
Okay, because in high school, like if I didn't do it the exact way that the teacher would have done it, like I wouldn't have gotten credit for it, even if I showed the work on how I got there.
Yeah, I'm not like that. You know, if the instructions specifically say use proportions, then you need to set it up you doing the proportions. You see what I mean? 'Cause
Yes, sir.
it's a different kind of thing. We usually make the actual problems real simple just to test to see if you know how to do the setup. You know, we try not to make like the arithmetic really hard when we're really trying to figure out is if you're understanding the setup part, you know?
So I have a question on the last question we just did.
Yeah.
It just says, what would you rather use? So what, I mean, what's the answer to that? Because
If it's less than 100, you'd want to use your $20 off. If the purchase price is more than 100, you'd want to take 20%.
yeah, I just felt like it was an open-ended question, like what would you rather use? But there's no price, like firm price, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you just say it like that. If it's more than 100, 20%. If it's less than 100, use your $20 because that's how you're gonna get the biggest discount, right?
Sounds good.
All right, so someone leaves a $20 tip on a $200 check. Is this a good tip or a bad tip? Justify your answer using a percent. So let's find out what percent is this?
10%.
10%.
A 20 out of 200. Dollars go away. You can divide by 10. 2 over 20 is 1/10, which is also 10 over 100 or 10%. So is that a good tip or a bad tip?
Bad.
Yeah, it depends on the service, right?
Mm.
Depends on if you're tipping or getting tipped, right?
Yep. We were just talking about that.
Uh-huh. So at the hotel I work at, cleaning rooms, I don't know, about 1 out of every 50 guests will leave a tip. You know, like if they're paying like, $250 a night. If they simply left a $5 tip, that would double my income there.
Yeah, my husband and I are one of the very few people in the world that tip based on service, not necessarily what like the total is. Like if you great service, then yeah, I'll give you like an excellent tip. But if you're gonna give me like really bad service, don't expect me to tip you 20%.
Right.
I hate the ones that judge you. They judge you as soon as like you go into somewhere to go eat and they expect that, oh, they're not gonna tip, or you walk with jeans and a t-shirt on. I was a waitress, so I will always commend hardworking people.
For
And
us, it's more of like they already start to judge you because we have an almost 10-month-old. And if anybody knows how they eat in a high chair, 90% of it ends up on the floor. So they think that they're going to be the ones that are going to have to pick it up. But I pick it up every time. I'm not going to expect you to pick up after my child. Like that's my job as a parent. I understand like that's your job, but it's not your job to pick up after my kid, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the rooms I clean, most of them, I just have to make the bed, vacuum, sterilize everything, but the ones that have families with a bunch of kids, and there's just, chips just crunched into the carpet everywhere, and, markers all over the wall and handprints all over the TV, just destroyed the whole place. Those are the ones that rarely tip. The people that usually give me good tips are, I go in there in the room, they've done everything they can to clean it up themselves, already.
Yeah, I feel like nobody understands that thing unless you have kids yourself, because you're like, okay, yeah, like I get that. Other people are like, wow, like you can't teach your kids, da 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 da. Like you don't understand how hard it is to teach a 10-month-old to stop doing stuff.
Right. I don't mind cleaning up after the rooms with all the kids, I don't care how dirty the rooms are, it's my job. It'd just be nice if more people tipped, but most people don't realize, they don't think to tip the housekeeper at a hotel, because they never see them, they leave and that's it.
I
But
think
basically,
everybody should tip.
I'm cleaning an entire house, basically, is what I'm doing, and I get.
Have you ever checked the Bibles? I've heard like people leave money in the Bibles for other people to find.
Wow.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, we have the
God
Bible,
bless.
Mormon Bible. I'll have to check them both.
You're gonna start dumping out Bibles just to see if there's cash in them.
right? Let me
Boss is
what,
gonna walk on you like, what are you
hotel-
doing?
I'll start getting all the other religious texts and putting them in the drawers in case there's some other religion as well.
Find the most generous religion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, enjoying it.
Oh, great. All right, let's move on. So, what would be a better tip? Justify using a percent.
I would say maybe, well, if $20 is still 20.
Wouldn't you
So
do $50 for a 20% tip? I mean, is that right? I don't know.
So, what's a
Yeah,
good
'cause-
percentage? What would you think?
I don't know. My wife just uses my card and writes tips.
People used to say
Maybe, like-
15%, but I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's like good for this example.
Was it
I
50?
heard typically 20% is like what you're supposed to do, but my question on this like problem is what would be a better tip? And then it says to justify using a percent. Could we use the percent and then figure out what the total amount would be for the tip?
Yeah, that's our goal here. So pick like what you think a good percent is, and then we'll figure out how much that would be on a $20, $200.
Let's do 20% at $40.
20% at $40. But let's pick a hard percent to make the math a little more difficult. So what was 18?
27.
27.9%.
All right, 27.9%.
That's terrible, you guys. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, you do that, so you have to learn the math, you know? So let's see, what is 20?
Poor housekeeper's gonna find like 3 pennies and a dime.
A quarter cent. All right, let's see. You got $200 and you want to get 27.9%. As a decimal, this is 0.279, right? So we just multiply it by 0.279, and my handy calculator on my iPhone,
55.8.
Wow.
55.8.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that's a
that's
really
another question. I know Miles said he purchased like an actual calculator for this course. Do we need an actual calculator, or can we just use like the calculator on our phones?
You can use any calculator that you want to use. You know, I'm not going to require you to buy an expensive calculator, you know, that you probably never.
Yeah, I
use.
wasn't sure if we needed a graphing calculator or not.
No, I mean, what's going to be in your pocket the rest of your life? Your phone. So, you know, get to know how to use all your math tools on your phone through this class, because that's something that'll actually stick with you the rest of your life, you know?
Well, I know if you turn your calculator sideways, it opens up a whole new thing too.
Yeah, exactly. Later on in the course, we'll need to do that. You turn your phone sideways, you get a whole bunch more buttons. Yeah, that's a good call. Jill, you'll mention something earlier in the class that was important. Oh, yeah, that Canvas app on the phone. I need to remind my other class that that's available in case they don't know. All right. This is where it's going to start getting a little difficult here. Write each of the following as equations and solve. What is 35% of 200?
70.
We take 200 and multiply it by 35%. And you get what, 70?
Yes, sir.
All right. So that wasn't too
Oh.
bad, right?
yeah. You just divide it.
All right. Yeah, if we set this up as a proportion, right? What is it? X to 200 equals 0.35. That would be the proportion, right? Or 35 out of 100. So that's the other way. That's why they showed us proportions, so that you can set your problems up like this. But I usually set mine up like this. So whichever way you want to do it. If you set it up like this using the proportions, you get the same thing, right? You multiply both sides by 200. You have X equals, again, this is 0.35 times 200, which is 70. Well, $35 is what percent of 200? It's a different question, right? They're trying to mess with your mind. Yeah. So
Gotta figure out what goes into both. What's their common denominator, right?
I'd say we're taking 200, multiplying it by its percent, and getting 35. So that's how I'd set this problem up. But you could use the proportions if you want, but you set it up like this. Divide both sides by 200.
7 over 40?
35 over 200 is 0.175, which is 17.5 over 100, or 17.5%. Okay. You know, they use the same two numbers that they used up there, but it's a totally different problem. Okay, if we were going to set this up as a proportion, let's see, how would we do that? 35 over 200 is the percent. That's how we.
And then don't you try to look for the common denominator, like a number that can go in both of them?
Well, because we're not adding fractions or subtracting them, we don't need a common denominator.
Okay, well, that
So,
works.
like right here, we just had to get that 200 off the x, so we just divided both sides by 200. The 200s go away, and you have x is 35 over 200. You know,
Okay.
this is your part, this is your whole, and that gives you your fraction, your percentage. So these problems, when I first looked at them, it took me a while to get it straight in my head. So, you know, if this is hard, don't worry, just keep working these problems, lots of different kinds and varieties. And by the end of the semester, you'll be good at them. This is one thing that I'm going to bring up the whole semester. As we keep going through more new math stuff, nearly every day I'm going to have a percent problem on the exam, because I want y'all to have this mastered by the end of the semester, because you'll actually use this stuff, you know, in your life. So if we have 25 is 40% of what? So we got a watt. We're taking 40% of it, and it's giving us 25. Y'all follow that setup?
Yeah.
25 is 40% of watt. So this is our watt, taking 40%, and we're getting 25. So to get our x alone, divide both sides by 0.4.
Isn't it 62.5?
Yeah, what is 25 over 0.4? Yeah, 62.5. Thank you.
Wait, so did you divide that, or you, oh, you divided it,
Yeah,
or you
divided.
multiplied? You
I-
divided it.
Yeah, divided by 0.4. So 15% of some number is 19.5. Calculate that number. So we have some amount. We're taking 15% of it, and we're getting 19.5. So
530.
solve for our x. Divide by the 0.15, so that goes away. And 19.5 divided by 0.15. 130. So it's really easy to screw these problems up. There's three locations, right? We have an amount times a percentage, and it's giving us some other value. Basically, all these look like that. There's three values, and we just have to put, they're always going to give you two of the numbers, and you find the third. So it's always going to look like this, basically. A number times a number equals a number. All right, number 7 here. 35 is 15% of what? So we have a watt. We're taking 15% of it, and we're getting 35. So just like the last problem, let's get our x by itself. That goes away. 35 divided by 0.15 is,
233.33 repeating.
what was that?
233.33 repeating.
3333. And the way we write this, when you have a repeating number, you just put a bar over it. All right. So this is exactly equal. Let's look at some proportions here. 30% of all students at Northwest Vista transfer to UTSA. Of those transfer students, 12% are going to major in biology. If there's 15,435 students at Northwest Vista, how many will transfer to UTSA and major in biology? Okay, well, we start off with this, right? And they say 30% of them will transfer, right? So let's find 30% of all the students. We'll work on that part.
4,630.5.
Okay, 4,630.5.
You just multiply that. Like you don't even think about anything else. You just focus on that 30% and then you do the 12%.
Yeah, exactly. This is how many are transferring. So to find out how many are biology majors,
That poor half a student.
yeah, poor half a
Right?
student. 4,630.5 times 0.12. 555.66. That's how many you got. Now we could have set this up in one shot here. That's the total number. Taking 30% of that and then 12% of that. You get the same answer. This one is real similar. 30% of all students in Northwest Vista transfer to UTSA. Of those students, 12% are majoring in biology. What percent of Northwest Vista students are going to be at UTSA and majoring in biology? It's very similar to the last problem, but the last problem told us how many students there were at Northwest Vista. Here they
Doesn't get
Here they're not asking for how many students are going to be at UTSA and in biology. They want to know the percent. So how can we figure this out, right? We could use their numbers up here. We already figured out that given this many students, right? This is how many will be at UTSA and biology. So if we take that number, this is how many are at UTSA and in biology. Out of this many total, that's going to give us our percent, right? 0.036, which is 3.6%. But if we hadn't have done that previous problem, we're just looking at this, how would we do this?
Would you add the X like you did the previous problems? Like how you put the X in front of it and then you multiply?
Yeah, let's say we have X students. Now let's just use like A. This is the amount of students total. We're taking 30% and 12%. So what percent of the students, right? So if we think about it like this, let's see. I'm trying to find a percent. What we're doing here is we're just multiplying the 0.3 times the 0.12. What we're doing. This is 0.036. I'm trying to think of a better way to explain it though. So no matter what our amount is, we're taking 30% of it and then 12% of that. So the total percentage is 0.3 times 0.12, taking 12% of the 30%, which gives us 3.6%. And it doesn't matter how many students there are. So you can do it either way here. If you do it this way and you're not sure, just pick a number of students, however many students you want. Say there's 1,000 students and 30% are transferring, and get you a number and see how many are UTSA and biology, and then test your answer, right? If there were 1,000 students and you took 30% and 12% of that, we would have 1,000 times 0.3 times 0.12. There would be 36 students at UTSA and in biology. And then you look, what percent is that? If you take 36 out of 1,000, you get 0.036 or 3.6%. So that's a way to check your work. Like if you didn't have these numbers here, you could always create them. Just pick any number you want to test your work. Well, we're down to 5 minutes. Let's see here. Let's do this last one and then throw out an exam for y'all to work on. All right, in a Gallup poll of 976 adults, 68 said they drink alcohol every day. Guess I'm one of those 68. What is the percentage of respondents who said they have a drink every day? Well, there's 68 out of 976, which is
14.35.
Come again?
Is it 14.35?
Let's see. I am getting 0.06967.
Sorry, I did it backwards.
It's all right. Yeah, if you get 14, that's one easy mistake we could make. You might just say, oh, 14%, but you have to remember that to get that percent, you have to move the decimal. So you'd be talking about 1,400%, right? So I'm going to use this symbol. That means approximately equal, because I am going to round this. Hold on, I did it wrong. 0.07. I'm going to round this 9 up, so that gives us a 7 there. I'm putting approximately equal because they are not exactly equal. But 0.07 is 7 out of 100, which is 7%. All right, let's see. I don't think I've done the solutions yet. So here's your exam number 2. Y'all are free to take off whenever you want. The class ends really at 5:06, so I'll hang out here for a few minutes if you have questions. So these are just like kind of like quiz number 1 stuff. I'm not gonna move on until I know y'all are confident with these. So yeah, get your answers submitted before midnight. Use that Canvas app on your phone if you want to. Just write it on paper, take a snapshot, and upload it. Should be pretty easy. And I will see y'all Monday.
Bye. Thank you. See you Monday.
Y'all have a
Have a
good
good one.
weekend.
See ya.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
For the first one, you would flip it, right?
The first one you
Like
don't
the
have to
3
flip it because the X is on the top. On the second one, you'd want to flip to get the X up on the top.
Oh, okay.
Now for the first one, you got to get rid of that 3 and that 4. So since you're dividing by 4, you need to multiply both sides by 4. And since you're multiplying by 3, you need to divide both sides by 3.
So when you write it again, it'll be 3x equals 6 times 4.
Well, just remember, if you have a 3/4, to get rid of that, you can multiply by a 4/3, right?
Mhm.
Because that's just 1. So yeah, you want to multiply both sides of this by 4/3. It's the first thing you'd want to do. Then you get your X by itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now I see it. I messed up right here.
There you go.
Thank you.
Sure.